everyone, and welcome back. We always like to keep our finger on the pulse of what's happening out there in the world of blockchain. And, well, let's just say this month's newsletter from the IE Silicon Valley Blockchain Group, it really delivered. We're talking the September 2024 issue. And buckle up, because it is dense.
Dense is an understatement. I mean, just flipping through it, the sheer range of topics, it's mind-blowing. Honestly, it really hits you just how quickly this whole field is moving.
No kidding.
Yeah.
It's like, remember back when blockchain was basically just Bitcoin and that was it?
Right. It's like Bitcoin and then like a footnote about maybe one or two other things.
And now it's like, whoa, hold on. Okay, so just scrolling through here, we've got, let's see, something about personhood credentials. That sounds kind of Black Mirror-ish, right?
Yeah, that one definitely caught my eye too. And there's some big names attached to this research, and we're talking OpenAI, Microsoft. It's all about, like, how do you even know if someone online is really a person these days?
Because with AI getting so sophisticated, right, how do you actually, like, prove that?
It's getting harder and harder to tell the difference between a real person and a really, really good bot. And that's kind of what's so freaky about it. It's not just some, like, theoretical problem anymore.
No, it's, like, deeply unsettling. Okay, so we've got AI freaking us out, but then scrolling down a bit further, oh boy, this doesn't sound good. Bitcoin DOS attack.
Yeah, you and me both.
Yeah.
Like, hearing those words together is never a good sign. And then the subtitle, Crash Competing Miners for just 0.14 BTC.
Oh.
Talk about a bargain.
It's like, wait, someone figured out how to basically mess up the entire Bitcoin network for, what, like a couple $1,000?
Less, probably, depending on the day. And then if we keep going, Ghost in the Block. Ethereum consensus vulnerability. Not exactly confidence-inspiring, is it?
You're telling me. And Ethereum is supposed to be, like, the more secure, more advanced system, right?
That's the idea, yeah. Though I will say, it's important to remember that research like this, while it might sound alarming, is actually a good thing, because they're finding these vulnerabilities, which means they can be addressed and fixed.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So it's good that they're finding this stuff out, even if it is kind of, giving everyone mini heart attacks in the meantime. But it's like, you'd rather know, right? Okay, let's see. What else is in this beast?
Well, why don't we start unpacking some of these headlines you pulled out? Like that personhood credentials one. That's
Yeah.
not just some tech jargon. It gets at something really fundamental about trust and identity in a digital world. I mean, it's a big deal.
It is a big deal. And honestly, it kind of feels like we're already living in some version of that future, right? Like, how many times have you interacted with someone online and wondered, are you a real person? Or are you, like, a bot?
Oh, all the time, especially on social media, right?
Yeah.
And I think what this paper is trying to get at is, how do we create a system where you can have that confidence, that assurance that you're actually dealing with a human being?
And not just some, like, super advanced AI that's learned to mimic human behavior so well you can't tell the difference. It's getting real out there.
And it's only going to get trickier, right? As AI gets even more sophisticated.
Exactly. Oh, and speaking of tricky, we were talking about those kind of scary-sounding security papers, the Bitcoin DOS attack and the Ethereum vulnerability. I have to admit, those kind of freaked me out a little bit.
Yeah, those definitely caught my attention too. But like I was saying before, it's kind of a double-edged sword, right? Because on the one hand, yeah, it's a little unsettling to think that these systems that are supposed to be so secure could potentially be vulnerable.
Right.
But on the other hand, it's good that these researchers are finding these weaknesses because it means that they can be addressed and hopefully fixed before any real damage is done.
That's true. So it's like better to find out now and fix it than have it happen, when everything's on the line. But still, it makes you wonder, like, what can be done to make these systems even more secure?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And it's something that researchers are constantly working on. But one thing that's interesting about blockchain technology in particular is that it's open source.
Right.
So what that means is that anyone can look at the code, anyone can scrutinize it, test it, try to find vulnerabilities.
So it's kind of like crowdsourced security in a way.
Exactly. It's like having a million sets of eyes constantly looking for flaws and trying to find ways to patch them up.
So in a way, that kind of transparency actually makes the whole ecosystem stronger, even if it seems counterintuitive at first.
Like the more eyes you have on the problem, the better.
Okay, that makes me feel a little bit better. But you know what else might help us sleep better at night? Knowing there are some even more advanced security solutions on the horizon. And wouldn't you know it, this newsletter has us covered there too. There's a whole section dedicated to zero-knowledge proofs. I'm not even sure I totally get it, but it seems like it could be a real game changer, especially when it comes to privacy and security online.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Zero knowledge proofs are super cool. Remember that analogy we used earlier about proving, a password without actually revealing it?
Yeah, I like that one.
Well, imagine applying that same principle to all sorts of online interactions. Like, let's say you want to prove you're over 18 without revealing your birth date,
Okay, yeah.
or you want to, access a service without having to share all of your personal information.
Right, right.
Zero knowledge proofs could potentially make all of that possible.
So, like, I could go to the doctor online, right? And I could prove that I have health insurance without them ever knowing my social security number.
Exactly. Or imagine a world where you could vote online, right?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And the system could verify that your vote is valid without ever knowing who you voted for.
Wow. Okay. That's like next level
That's
stuff.
powerful stuff.
So this isn't just some like pie in the sky idea either. This newsletter is talking about how developers are actually building with this technology like right now.
Oh, yeah. This is real world stuff.
There's a whole guide in here about something called tokenized real estate.
Oh, yeah. That's a great example of how this technology could completely reshape traditional industries.
Hmm.
So imagine, buying a piece of property, right? And the whole transaction, from verifying ownership to transferring funds, it's all handled securely and transparently on a blockchain.
And with zero knowledge proofs, you could potentially do all of that without exposing any of your sensitive personal or financial information to like everyone on the network. That's like a huge deal.
Huge. It's a total game changer. And this is still so early. This is just the beginning.
It's like we're just scratching the surface here. This newsletter is making me feel like we're on the verge of something really big, like a fundamental shift in how we think about, I don't know, like
Well,
everything.
I know, right?
In fact, there's this one article in here with a title that really caught my eye. The Zero Knowledge Proof, Singularity is Near. Okay, I'm not going to pretend I totally understand what singularity means in this context, but it definitely sounds like kind of ominous and exciting all at the same time.
I know, singularity. It's a big word, right? Like it makes
Mhm.
you think of black holes and the unknown. But usually when people talk about the singularity, they're talking about this hypothetical point in time when technological growth becomes so rapid, so transformative, that it fundamentally changes what it means to be human. Like everything's different afterwards.
Okay, so like applying that to zero knowledge proofs, are we talking about a future where this technology basically reshapes how we interact online, how
Yeah.
we think about privacy, maybe even how our societies function? Like, it's that big.
It's wild, right? It's almost too big to even get your head around.
It really is. But that's what I think is so cool about this newsletter. It's like it shows how this isn't just, science fiction anymore. Like
Right.
people are actually building this future right now.
Yeah. And it's not just some niche group of, tech geniuses in a basement somewhere. We're talking about real world applications that could affect all of us.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we've talked about real estate, but this newsletter also mentions applications in like supply chain management, healthcare, even voting. Like the possibilities
Yeah.
are pretty much endless. Yeah, seriously. And I think that's what I found so fascinating about this issue. It's like they like handpick all of the most like thought-provoking, mind-expanding stuff and just like put it all in one
It
place.
was curated for maximum impact.
Exactly. Oh, and speaking of maximum impact, I really appreciated the link to that blockchain developer knowledge map. Talk about a rabbit hole. I was like clicking on every single link for like an hour.
It's there if you want it, along with a documentary about Vitalik Buterin,
Yeah.
the creator of Ethereum.
No way.
Yeah, it's called The Vitalik, an Ethereum story. You can watch now.
Okay, so basically, anyone listening who's feeling like totally inspired right now, this newsletter is like the perfect jumping off point. Go check it out, start exploring.
Yeah, get in there. Because honestly, the more we all understand about this stuff, the better.
Right. 100%. Knowledge is power.
Could have said it better myself.
So, to wrap things up, if any of our listeners out there are feeling as hyped about this as we are, you can find a link to the full IE newsletter in the show notes.
Definitely check it out.
And until next time, stay curious, and we'll see you all in the metaverse.